Let's begin with the cusp of the fourth. This is one of the angles of the chart. This line is known as the imum coli, the IC, which means bottom of the sky. This spot is deeply identified with your past, and not just any aspect of your past. It speaks to the familial past. As the first water house, it represents the unconscious. Everyone has an unconscious. This is the part of the mind filled with memories and impressions and beliefs of which you are unaware. That includes your deepest self-image. Think back to the earliest experience you had of home and family. It's a powerful developmental era because it occurs during a time when you don't make your own decisions and you don't have an analytical mind to protect you. Instead, you absorb what surrounds you, and your capacity to reject what's coming in is very weak. So the imum coli can be seen more as a receiver than anything else. What you receive creates your most subjective attitudes in life. The sign at the IC and the planets there color how you interpret your family past. They describe the tone of your family of origin and your inherited identity. Most importantly, it describes your first impressions of what life will be like. The way your family is the foundation in your life, the IC is the foundation of the chart. A stable, well-functioning IC means a stable and healthy personality. The IC feeds every other house in the chart and ultimately feeds the actualization of the sun. So each of us needs to express the best version of our IC that we possibly can. So what effect does Neptune have on this segment of the chart? One of the things I've found in talking to people with this placement is that it's not easy to get a family history. It's cloudy, or they don't know large portions of the story, or they have no memory at all, or they even seem strangely disinterested in where they came from. Here, the family dynamics are slippery and somehow difficult to grasp. You see, Neptune clouds the house it inhabits, and in the fourth, natives have a sense that they don't quite get family. They don't quite know why their self-esteem feels so low either. But when Neptune is here, there's often a central lie in the family that distracts them, that makes it difficult for them to see the reality of their family of origin. And yet, it isn't always out there in the open in the way of a sloppy alcoholic home or abusive parents. With Neptune, it can be much more subtle. Perhaps it was an infirmed parent who had a funny way of controlling everyone through phantom illnesses, either physical or psychological. Or maybe a narcissist was at the helm, creating a deep sense of isolation by holding only themselves in the spotlight. Whatever the situation, all the pieces are difficult to organize and analyze. Let's talk about Neptune's motive for a moment. Why does he mislead and fog things up and shatter our illusions? Well, something has to be in pieces before it can be brought back together again. On a physical level, something that's broken can often be pieced back together again, and you have what you started with, more or less. On a psychological level, it's different. When you bring the pieces together, there's something in the whole that wasn't in the parts. Included now is wisdom. Neptune dissolves things in order to become complete again, only better. This happens with Neptune's shattered illusions too. It's Neptune's nature to dissolve and then reconstitute. In the fourth, family dissolves. And since it sometimes takes more than one person to pull a family back together, this placement may feel some frustration and some loneliness. That's part of the suffering and sacrifice Neptune brings to the fourth. However, any healing, any wholeness you achieve over time gets passed on to the current home and family, and so it's worth the trouble. Now, there's a debate over the fourth house's association with the parents. Some insist it's the house of the father, and some say the house of the mother. I'll give a brief overview of what I've seen with both parents. Neptune in the fourth tends to see the father as weak, or they think the father let them down. Father is longed for, but also inaccessible in the typical Neptunian ways, unavailable, uncommunicative, unreachable. There are usually complex feelings about the father. And I've seen Neptune in the fourth, or similarly Pisces on the fourth house cusp, in the charts of women who go after married men they can never have, or men who are otherwise unavailable. On an emotional level, since Neptune is the planet of paradox, you may find both a longing for a strong father and a disinterest in the father. But it's clear that if a fourth house Neptune dismisses the father as unimportant or unlovable, the results are poor. When it comes to the mother, Neptune in the fourth often has boundary issues. When you boil it down, these natives were expected to take care of the mother's emotions at the expense of their own. This can result in family relationships that are at once distant and overly attached. But then wherever we find Neptune, we find dual experiences. These natives might say they had a good childhood and a bad one. They had a good mother and a bad one. Their father was committed and yet quite aloof. The parents were both permissive and controlling. Other Neptunian themes in the family of origin include a highly religious home, a demand for perfection, control by guilt, a cult-like atmosphere, chaos, addiction, a sense of being incarcerated in the family and being haunted by the past. Neptune dreams of a happy childhood and may even feel that positive experiences with family have a transcendent quality. The highest or most positive expression of Neptune in the fourth is a family system in which there's peace and an emphasis on artistic self-interest. Another positive expression is an open space where everyone is considered equal, feelings are supported, and love is unconditional. Let's talk about the personality traits represented by this placement. The limitless planet at the foundation of the chart brings some benefits. With Neptune here, The native usually rides the currents of life. They're good at releasing, surrendering, and forgiving. There's an enormous amount of flexibility, adaptability, and resilience no matter what life throws their way. And even though their behavior might seem illogical, there's a reservoir of intuition underneath the decisions they make. Neptune is connected to artistic self-expression, so grace and elegance are prized by these natives. They also tend to like fine surroundings. Having a home that's beautiful is their dream. We are, after all, talking about the planet of artistry. They want to be lifted up by the home they've created. But because of Neptune's dual nature, they tend to feel a sense of rootlessness, and they have trouble attaching. These natives travel everywhere but settle nowhere. So the dream of finding the perfect home can become a major goal in life. Thank you for watching Secrets from an Astrologer's Desk. Stay tuned for all the ways you can get in touch for a birth chart reading and full astrological services. I'm Joy. Neptune in the 5th house is next.